Hey, UPB from OptionMillionaires.com. Good morning. We are one day before Good Friday and then a couple days before Easter. Listen, have a great Easter with your family and your friends. Come back rejuvenated. We have earnings season starting up next month, which is only a couple days away. Futures were much lower overnight, and my goodness, who would have guessed it? Who would have guessed it? At about a couple hours ago, futures started to rise. Suddenly, we're green. The markets are green. Sucks to be a bear these days, but I've been saying it over and over and over and over again. Go to OptionMillionaires.com, type in BTFD in the search for the blog. Been talking about buy the dip, sell the VIX. The market's being manipulated higher by all the central banks, and as I've said before, fight it. Fight it at your own peril. So anyone fighting this run up, just look at the last couple days for the market. It's been stuck pretty much in a range, but we're going to look for a bust out to new all-time highs. Did a contest there, folks, when the S&P 500 is going to hit a new all-time high. Thanks for those of you who signed up. We're going to be running contests galore because it's a lot of fun. We everybody gets to puff their chest out and see who's right and who's wrong, and it's nice also to take a gauge of the market, see what everybody thinks is going to happen. But look at the long-term chart. If you've been fighting just the recent action, we've seen the declines. Each one, every dip is getting bought. BTFD. And look at this trend line. Okay, this is the October 6th lows of 2011. The trend remains higher. Look at this inverted head and shoulders pattern. Boom, higher. Okay, and then let's go back longer term. And since the 2009 lows, look at this. We remain robustly above this trend line. The dip buyers, and if you just look at the last 6 months, this is the S&P 500 ETF, the spiders. Each dip is becoming less steep, and we're getting the buyers stepping in sooner than later. I think we're going to ultimately get this parabolic rise in stocks. We're going to see S&P 500 move over 1600, the SPY move over 160, DIA move over 150. That's the diamonds, covers the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Yeah, it's an ETF covering the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So let's move on to some possible trades for today. I brought up this week in the watch list at OptionMillionaires.com Netflix, just an example of what we try and do at OptionMillionaires.com. But that's the 6-month chart. But if you just look at the last 10 days, right down here, when the stock was 180 2 days ago, I had on the watch list the 190 calls at 45 cents. That's what they closed at. Ultimately opened the day at 50 cents, and yesterday hit $7.50. $7.50. So. Also, yesterday, Facebook had that on the watch list, the $25 calls for next week, because the stock was holding at this $25 level just about. That was the stop. Break below this with some sort of vigor and close below this, get out of the calls. However, we dropped below it initially right at the open. You could have got the $25 calls that expired next week. That was on the watch list for 33 cents. I ended up getting them for 50 cents, and they closed at $1.10. I think as high as $1.26. So you can see, actually, they're worth right now $1.10. That's their intrinsic value. So pricing a little bit of premium there. I believe they might have closed a little bit higher than that, but needless to say, it was a nice over 100% gain on those options. Also had Baidu on the watch list 2 days ago. The Baidu 8750s for 29 cents, and the Baidu 90 calls for 5 cents. Those 90 calls closed at 10 cents. Those 8750s that were at 29 cents closed at 87 cents. We're as high as $1.10. You can see the action here. We were in this channel after we hit a double bottom here, which is the recent low for Baidu, and we're breaking out of that channel to the upside. And I think ultimately we're going to make a move back over 90, then 100, and then 170. You can see this action here. Longer term, there's a descending wedge. You see how it's tightening up here. Each time we've bounced off this bottom support line on Baidu, we've rallied some $40, then 35, then 20. Ultimately, going to do about $15 to $17, possibly more. And if we break it to the upside, which we might, we're going to see even further gains for Baidu. So how are we going to trade that? Stock options, call options. You can go out of the money calls for next week, which is still relatively cheap. That's the Baidu 90 or $95 calls. Also, a stock that I had on the watch list yesterday, FFIV, which is F5 Networks. Again, similar type pattern here, except we're hitting support hitting support. Each time we've hit support, we've bounced to the tune of here $40, $30, and even if we get what I'm looking for at a minimum, a nice little $20 move to the upside, bring us over $100 on FFIV. I'm in the 92.50 calls. They were on the watch list yesterday. 90 cents to close at $1.23 for a nice little gain there so far. So that's UPB here from OptionMillionaires.com. Let me just talk about a couple option trades that are going to work today. DEC. I'm going to put these up on the Option Millionaires watch list, among others. And you can see this uptrend the stock is in. It's actually going to break out of this channel to the upside. An analyst now has upgraded the stock from $65 target to $100. Talking about being wrong. Actually, hey, it's just like the analyst covering Apple, who continually talk negatively about the stock and downgrade it. Meanwhile, it's some 10% off its lows, and I think it's going to continue to rise. So anyway, DEC calls are going to be really nice today. I think also Goldman Sachs, which has been beaten down, saw an analyst come out, talk about it positively, 175 target, and you can see this trend line here. Do you see this? Which acted as resistance in the past, now is acting as support. I think it's ultimately going to see, you see this pullback here, another pullback. We're going to see that move up to about 160 for Goldman Sachs. It's going to happen pretty soon. And if you look, that's the 5-year chart. Look at this trend line here. So we're above it. To me, that's pretty bullish for Goldman Sachs. So there's a couple trades for you. FFIV. I love Baidu. Back over $100, so play that however you want to play it. But go long the stock, which is the least risky option. Goes over $100. You're looking at 20-25% gain there, easy for you for a Baidu. So maybe you'll just go long the stock. That's probably the less risky option for you. Trading out of the money stock options, or even in the money stock options, carries tremendous risk. So if you do trade the options, you stand to lose money if a Baidu just trades flat, doesn't move anywhere, which is a possibility. However, if you went long the stock, you wouldn't lose anything if it traded flat. All right, UPB here from OptionMillionaires.com. Again, everybody have a happy Easter, a fabulous Good Friday. And thanks for tuning in. Some great trades there. FFIV and Baidu, just for a few. All right, everyone have a great day, and take care. Goodbye. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, again, those of you signed up, we had that contest. Guess when the S&P 500 breaks its all-time high. Could be today. There's a lot of entrants for today, March 28th. All right. Goodbye.